We recently stumbled upon what might be the most gloriously absurd spectacle on television. With Love, Meghan, starring Meghan Markle as the ultimate hostess in a world so polished it feels like a fever dream. Season 2 of this Netflix cooking show opens with Meghan gliding through a mansion that's not even hers, a $10 million Montecito stand-in, while her actual estate, reportedly worth double, sits untouched nearby. Yet, she presents this borrowed palace as her quaint, homey cottage, where she casually tends to a garden straight out of a fairy tale. The tomatoes are impossibly ripe, the flowers bloom in perfect sync, and the whole setup looks like it was designed by a Disney Imagineer. Nothing about it feels real, and that's the fatal flaw of With Love, Meghan. It's a meticulously crafted illusion, a puff pastry of a show, flaky, puffed up, and completely hollow. Meghan's big culinary wisdom in the premiere episode revolves around, of all things, puff pastry. She turns to her guest, Daniel Martin, her longtime makeup artist and reluctant co-star, and declares with the weight of a philosopher, "You should always have puff pastry in your freezer." That's it. That's the hot tip of the season. Not how to craft it, not how to elevate it into something divine. Just keep it frozen. This is Meghan's vision of a food show. A single, underwhelming piece of advice delivered like it's the key to the universe. Poor Daniel, who looks like he was strong-armed onto the set, manages a smile, but his eyes scream, hostage situation. It's as if he's blinking "Save me" in Morse code, trapped in Meghan's curated fantasy. The episode teases a major celebrity guest, and you might expect a heavyweight like Oprah Winfrey, Barack Obama, or even Elton John to grace the screen. After all, Meghan's Rolodex is supposedly stacked with A-listers. But no, they've all dodged her calls like she's a telemarketer. Instead, we get Daniel Martin, her makeup artist, as the season's opening star. He's forced to deliver lines like, "I'm so thrilled to be here," with the enthusiasm of someone reading a ransom note. You can almost feel the invisible cue cards hovering off-screen, urging him to sell the moment. Things take a turn when Meghan invites two actual chefs, David Chang and Christina Tosi, into her meticulously staged world. These are culinary pros, with real charisma, at ease in front of cameras and in their craft. The contrast is jarring. David and Christina exude effortless confidence, while Meghan moves like she's performing normal human after studying reruns of Friends. Her smile is so strained it's practically a grimace. At one point, she suggests making an onion tart, and Daniel nods with such fervor you'd think she just cracked the code to eternal life. Then comes the puff pastry sermon. Yes, that line. Again, delivered with the solemnity of a TED Talk. "Always have puff pastry in your freezer," Meghan intones. Daniel, ever loyal, mutters, "Thanks, Meghan," as if they've just joined a cult dedicated to frozen dough. The show's artificiality hits a new low with a moment so blatant it's almost performance art. Meghan delivers a line about rethinking baking to be more spontaneous, but her lips don't move. The words are clearly dubbed in post-production, a clumsy attempt to make her sound profound. It's meant to cast her as a culinary visionary, but it's laughably fake. Daniel's immediate response, so true, feels like a ghost echo, reacting to a moment that never happened live. It's not just bad editing, it's manipulative, a stitched-together attempt to sell Meghan as insightful. The scene is a microcosm of the show's core problem. Nothing is spontaneous, only engineered to look that way. Meghan's need to control the narrative extends beyond the kitchen. When David Chang and Christina Tosi arrive, expecting a relaxed cooking segment, they're thrust into what feels like a shrine to Meghan's ego. She greets them with the over-the-top warmth of a soap opera star, every gesture calculated for maximum impact. But before they can even touch a spatula, Meghan unveils her first power move, gifting them scarves. Not just any scarves, but garish handmade creations born from a tedious process called water marbling. She swirls linen in inky water, producing abstract blobs that look like a craft project gone wrong. Watching her explain this process is like enduring a lecture on paint drying. But these gifts aren't about generosity, they're a flex. "Here's this odd thing I made. Now thank me and bow to my creativity." David and Christina, caught off guard, muster polite smiles, but the awkwardness is palpable. There's no give and take. Just Meghan demanding gratitude. The cooking segment is a study in discomfort. Meghan navigates the kitchen like she's memorized a cooking tutorial but never practiced. She's hesitant, spilling ingredients and eyeing the stove like it might attack. At one point, she fumbles a spatula as if it's her first time holding one. The menu, fried eggs, puff pastry, and marshmallows, feels like a prank, less a meal than a cry for help. Yet, David and Christina are forced to treat it like a Michelin star experience. They nibble on Meghan's limp onion tarts and deliver Oscar-worthy performances, with Christina declaring, "This is one of the most joyful days I've ever had." The only logical explanation is that the production team is slipping happy pills into the water. There's no other way to justify the level of forced enthusiasm. When the cooking well runs dry, Meghan pivots to flower arranging, because apparently that's a personality trait now. She herds her guests into the garden to pluck weeds, which they stuff into vases like they're competing on a low-budget reality show. The arrangements are a mess, like someone raided a ditch and called it art. Yet, Meghan treats it as a profound ritual, even comparing herself to a samurai because apparently, samurais dabbled in flowers and calligraphy. "Isn't it wild that I do both?" she says, beaming with self-satisfaction. The narcissism is so pure it's almost endearing, or it would be if it weren't so relentless. The episode's supposed emotional peak comes when Meghan sits with her guests, David, Christina, and a visibly drained Daniel, and reflects on her journey. With the sincerity of a motivational poster, she says, "There have been so many chapters. You'd think she's recounting a war-torn saga, not a career built on game shows and red carpets. It's less a moment of vulnerability and more a self-aggrandizing tagline she's trying to will into existence." Then, bizarrely, they're back to flower arranging, treated not as a throwaway activity but as a sacred ceremony. Meghan stands at the center, adjusting stems and gasping at petals like they're revealing life's mysteries. Every moment is framed as transformative. Every word she speaks a pearl of wisdom. But it's also hollow, a desperate bid to seem profound without the warmth to back it up. The show's fakery is laid bare in a kitchen scene where that spontaneous baking line is dubbed over a silent Meghan. The camera lingers on her smiling face as the voiceover plays, a transparent attempt to retrofit depth. Daniel's so true response, meant to feel live, becomes a haunting artifact of a moment that never existed. It's not just sloppy. It's deceitful, proof that even Meghan's off-the-cuff brilliance is crafted in an editing bay. As the credits roll, the first name to appear is Meghan, Duchess of Sussex. It's a calculated move, clinging to a title she claims to have left behind. She distanced herself from the royal family, criticized it publicly, yet still uses the brand she supposedly rejected. It's not irony. It's a deliberate strategy. With Love, Meghan isn't about cooking or connecting with guests. It's about constructing a narrative where Meghan is the star, the victim, the genius, and the visionary all at once. But the harder she tries to control the story, the more transparent the artifice becomes. The show doesn't just fail, it implodes spectacularly, revealing Meghan not through her carefully scripted lines, but through the cracks in her performance. The real Meghan isn't the charming hostess. She's the woman terrified of silence, desperate to fill every second with manufactured meaning. With Love, Meghan isn't bad in the conventional sense. It's not just awkward or dull. It's a mesmerizing train wreck, so deeply inauthentic and unintentionally hilarious that it becomes compelling for all the wrong reasons. Meghan's guests, Daniel, David, and Christina, are trapped in her fantasy, but the true captive is the viewer, unable to look away from this gloriously cringeworthy spectacle.